My name is Vivian Cross, and I'm 25 years old. If you had met me just a week ago, you would have seen a woman who thought she had everything figured out. A stable career in software design, a cozy apartment I worked hard to afford, and a boyfriend I believed I would one day marry. His name was Ethan. For 2 years, Ethan was my world. His boyish grin could erase even the worst day, and for a long time I believed his presence in my life was fate. 8 months ago, he moved into my apartment, and it felt like the natural next step. He promised he would start saving for our future, so I covered the rent, utilities, and groceries. I told myself it was only temporary, and I didn't mind. But recently, things had changed. Ethan often stayed late at work, yet there was little proof of progress. His phone, once left casually on the coffee table, had become an extension of his hand, always face down, always locked with a password. I tried to dismiss my unease, reminding myself that love is built on trust. Then came the message, a simple vibration on my phone while I was sautéing vegetables for dinner. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, smiling, thinking it was Ethan finally telling me he was on his way home. Instead, I read, "Staying at Lara's tonight. Don't wait up." Lara, his co-worker. The same Lara whose Instagram photos he liked at 2 in the morning. The same Lara who laughed a little too much at his jokes at office parties. My pulse slowed. At first, I wanted to believe it was innocent, maybe just work-related, but deep down, something in me knew the truth. He had chosen. With trembling fingers, I typed back, "Thanks for letting me know." That was all. No confrontation, no drama, just 7 words that sealed his fate. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the skillet on the stove, the vegetables burning as smoke curled upward. It felt like I was watching a scene from someone else's life. My chest should have been on fire, but instead, there was only a hollow calm. I remembered something my father told me when I was 17, sobbing over my first heartbreak. He had placed a firm hand on my shoulder and said, "A man who hides his phone is already gone in spirit. Don't beg someone to stay when they've already left you." Back then, I had rolled my eyes. Now, his words felt like prophecy. I turned off the stove, the air heavy with the faint, bitter scent of burnt onions, and set the spatula aside. The weight of betrayal pressed down on me, but beneath it, another feeling emerged. Cold, sharp, almost surgical resolve. If Ethan wanted to be in Lara's bed, then that's where he could stay. Permanently. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Instead, I pulled out the first empty cardboard box I had saved from moving, placed it on the bed we once shared, and began to pack. I started with his favorite shirt, an old gray hoodie worn soft from years of use. I remembered the night he draped it over my shoulders after our first date, when the rain caught us off guard. For a moment, my fingers lingered on the fabric. The memory stung, sharp and quick, like lemon on a paper cut. Then I pressed the hoodie flat, placed it in the box, and closed the lid. I wasn't just packing clothes, I was dismantling a life. 1 box became 2, then 3. The repetitive motion soothed me in a strange way. With every crease smoothed and lid shut, I felt another corner of my heart ironed free from him. His cologne bottles, little glass monuments to his lies, went into bubble wrap. His toothbrush, his razor, the half-used bottle of aftershave he swore by, all neatly tucked into a toiletry bag. I even wound the cord of his electric razor carefully, as if precision could disguise the fury driving my hands. By midnight, the room was bare of him. 8 boxes, 2 suitcases, his shoes, ties, and even the silly mug he claimed his grandmother had given him, but had really bought from IKEA. Nothing of Ethan remained, not even the pillowcase he slept on. I folded it, placed it atop the final suitcase, and stepped back. The apartment looked different without him. Cleaner, lighter. I glanced at the clock. 10:15 p.m. A decision struck me like lightning. These boxes wouldn't sit and gather dust. They belonged where Ethan had chosen to be. I carried them to the car, trip after trip down the stairs, muscles aching, breath quickening. Each thud of the trunk closing felt like punctuation at the end of a sentence. This is over. By 10:45 p.m., the car was full. By 11, I was driving across town, headlights cutting through the night. Lara's apartment complex loomed ahead. Modern brick walls, manicured hedges, the kind of place where people pretended they had it all together. I knew the building well. Ethan had once asked me to drop him off there for a team meeting. As fate would have it, someone was leaving just as I pulled up. The door swung open, and I slipped inside, hauling the first suitcase up to the third floor. Faint music and laughter drifted from behind one of the doors. A woman's laugh, higher, lighter than mine, echoed faintly. I didn't linger. Instead, I stacked every box, suitcase, and bag neatly against the doorframe, a quiet shrine to betrayal. On top, I placed a single folded note. It read, "Ethan's belongings. He's yours now, Lara." I snapped a photo, not out of spite, but for proof. For myself. Proof that I had actually done it. As I walked away, my heart didn't race. It slowed, growing calmer with every step. By the time I slid into the driver's seat, the silence inside me was almost frightening. At 11:30 p.m., I was home again. By midnight, a locksmith was changing the locks. 180, worth every penny. I reset the door code, deleted Ethan from my Netflix, Spotify, and gym accounts, and canceled the emergency credit card he had been using for his daily Starbucks fix. When it was done, I poured myself a glass of red wine, sat on the sofa, and pressed play on a movie. At 11:47 p.m., the first call came. Ethan. At 11:49, the second. By midnight, texts began flooding in. I placed my phone face down and let it buzz itself into exhaustion. Somewhere across town, his life was stacked in boxes outside another woman's door. For the first time in weeks, I felt free. By 12:30 a.m., the buzzing hadn't stopped. My phone lit up like a fire alarm. Calls, texts, voicemails piling one on top of another. "Vivian, what is this? Where are my things? This isn't funny. Answer me." I didn't. At 1 o'clock, the doorbell rang, followed by fists pounding the door, rattling the frame. Ethan's voice bellowed through the hallway, angry and desperate. "Viv! Open the damn door! You're being insane!" I leaned against the wall, arms folded, listening. Neighbors stirred, lights flicked on. A petty part of me wanted to let him shout until the entire building knew the truth about him. Instead, I sent a single text. "You chose to stay at Lara's. I simply helped you move." At 3:00 a.m., a different number appeared on my screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Vivian, it's me." Ethan's voice cracked. "You have to listen. Nothing happened." "I swear." "Nothing happened?" I asked softly. "Then why Lara's couch? Why her apartment and not your own?" "It was one night. For work," he stammered. "For work?" A bitter laugh slipped from my lips. "Hotels exist for work, Ethan. Don't insult me." There was a pause. Then his tone shifted, pleading. "Where am I supposed to go now?" I closed my eyes, the wine from earlier still warm in my veins. "Where you stayed last night seems like the obvious answer." The silence that followed was heavier than shouting. I ended the call before he could speak again. By morning, my landlord called. "Vivian, just confirming you changed the locks last night?" He chuckled. "Figured. Your boyfriend showed up at my office claiming it was all a mistake, demanding a spare key." "Ex-boyfriend," I corrected. "He swore he was on the lease. He's not. Never has been." My landlord's tone carried amusement. "Good to know. Don't worry, I'll handle it." But Ethan wasn't finished. By 9 a.m., the flying monkeys descended. His mother, Darlene, queen of misplaced loyalty. My phone lit up with her name. Against my better judgment, I answered. "How dare you throw my son out onto the street?" she snapped. "Darlene, your son texted me that he was staying at another woman's house. I simply helped him make it permanent." "He made one mistake," she hissed. "No, he made a choice. I respected it." "You're legally obligated to give him 30 days. Wrong. He never paid rent, never signed the lease. He was a guest. Guests don't get 30 days. You're heartless." "No, Darlene, I'm just done being his safety net." She hung up on me, but not before I heard the quiver in her voice, as if deep down, she knew exactly who her son was. When I set my phone down, I noticed something unexpected. My hands weren't shaking. For the first time in months, I felt steady. Still, I knew Ethan wouldn't let go so easily. Men like him never do. And as the sun climbed higher, I felt it in my gut. This was only the beginning. By noon, my phone buzzed again, this time from an unknown number. I let it ring out, but when it came again, curiosity won. "Vivian?" The voice was sharp, male, furious. "This is Lara's boyfriend, Ryan. You mind explaining why a mountain of Ethan's crap is stacked outside her door?" I almost laughed. "Why don't you ask Lara or Ethan? They've been doing plenty behind your back." "That's not—" he started, but I cut him off. "Check Ethan's messages. His iPad was still signed into my Wi-Fi. I saw enough screenshots to last me a lifetime." Silence. Then a muttered curse before he hung up. It was only a matter of time before Ethan himself called again. This time, his tone wasn't pleading. It was smug. Rehearsed. "Viv, it wasn't what you think," he began. "It was a test. A test to see if you really loved me. If you did, you'd fight for me. You'd be jealous. That's what women do when they care. You failed, Viv. You didn't fight." The audacity nearly stunned me into silence. Nearly. "You wanted a dog, Ethan," I shot back, my voice sharp. "I'm not one. I don't chase. I replace." His voice cracked, losing its practiced smoothness. "Replace me with who?" I let the pause hang before delivering the line like a dagger. "I already texted Marcus. Coffee tomorrow." The silence on his end was exquisite. Marcus. The one man Ethan always accused me of liking too much. The man he labeled a threat simply for existing in my orbit. In truth, Marcus and I had never been more than friends, but Ethan didn't need to know that. "You wouldn't," he whispered. "Watch me," I replied. That's when the campaign began. By evening, my phone lit up with alerts. Ethan had plastered Facebook with a post. "My ex is unstable. She threw me out on the street. She's abusive. Don't believe her lies." Classic deflection. But I was ready. With a single screenshot, his text about Lara, the late-night emojis, the whispered promises, I cut his story off at the knees. His own friends messaged me privately. Some apologized. Others said they were done with him. Even Mia, the friend who had once defended him, wrote, "I'm so sorry, Viv. He's toxic. Stay strong." By nightfall, Ethan's post was gone, quietly deleted. But the damage was done. Not to me, but to him. And still, he couldn't stop. At 2 a.m., another message appeared, this one almost pitiful. "I was setting up a future for us. Lara meant nothing. You'll regret leaving me." I stared at the words, my jaw tightening. The lies were endless. But deep down, I knew the truth. Ethan wasn't just flailing. He was plotting his next move. And men like Ethan never went quietly. The morning after his smear campaign fizzled, I thought I'd finally get some quiet. I was wrong. At 9:15 a.m., my phone buzzed with a fraud alert. Someone had tried using the emergency credit card I'd canceled weeks ago. Declined. 10 minutes later, another alert. A credit application filed in my name. Ethan. My pulse didn't spike, and my hands didn't shake. Instead, a chilling steadiness washed over me. I called the bank, confirmed the attempt, then dialed the non-emergency police line. "Attempted identity theft is a felony, Ms. Cross," the detective said after I filed the report. "Would you like to press charges?" "I'll think about it," I answered, though inside I already knew. By noon, the fallout spread. My LinkedIn pinged. Ethan's boss had viewed my profile. A message followed soon after. "Hi, Vivian. Odd question. Has everything been okay with Ethan? He listed you as his emergency contact. I also noticed a salary advance request with your name mentioned." I didn't sugarcoat it. "We broke up 2 days ago. He stayed overnight with his coworker Lara. They've both been calling in sick." A pause. Then, "Interesting coincidence. We have a strict fraternization policy. Thank you." By 3:00 p.m., Ethan called from an unknown number, his voice ragged with fury. "You got me fired?" "No," I said calmly. "You got yourself fired. By dating a coworker and lying about it." "I wasn't dating her," he snapped. "Your boss seems to think otherwise. How am I supposed to live without a job, without money?" "Maybe Lara can support you," I replied, my voice sweet as poison. "Oh wait, she got fired too." His rage dissolved into incoherent shouting before the line went dead. Later that evening, another call came, this time from his mother. Her voice was softer now, almost pleading. "Vivian, please. He's learned his lesson. Don't press charges. You'll ruin his life." I pressed the phone closer, scanning the quiet apartment around me, every corner free of his presence. "Darlene," I said evenly, "he tried to steal my identity. He ruined his own life. I just won't carry the blame for it." There was a long silence, then muffled sobs before she hung up. For the first time since this began, I felt something close to satisfaction. Not because Ethan was crumbling, but because the mask had finally fallen. Everyone else could see him now, the selfish boy who played games until he lost. Still, in the back of my mind, I knew. Cornered men rarely retreat. They lash out. And I hadn't seen the worst of Ethan yet. Saturday afternoon, I was making coffee when a deep rumble shook the street outside. Through the blinds, I saw a U-Haul truck parked crookedly at the curb. Ethan. But he wasn't alone. 2 of his cousins, Rodney and Derek, climbed out of the cab, muscles flexing under cheap tank tops. Ethan strutted behind them like a general marching into battle. My heart didn't race. I had been waiting for this. I opened the door just enough to watch. Rodney was already fiddling with the lock, and Derek had grabbed patio chairs, lugging them toward the truck. Ethan stood with his arms crossed, smirking like victory was inevitable. That smirk faltered when the front door opened wider, and my brother Noah stepped out beside me. Noah, broad-shouldered, an ex-wrestler, the kind of man who could silence a room with a single look. And then Camilla, my best friend, appeared, phone already recording. "Afternoon, gentlemen," Noah said coolly. "Planning to rob my sister in broad daylight?" Rodney froze, the screwdriver slipping from his hand. Derek set the chairs down slowly. Ethan's jaw tightened. "This is my place too, Noah. I have rights." "No, you don't," I cut in, my voice louder than I expected. "Every piece of your junk was delivered to Lara's door a week ago, remember?" "That doesn't matter. I lived here. I'm moving back in." Camilla stepped forward, her phone steady. "You mean breaking and entering? I'm pretty sure that does matter." And then, as if the universe craved drama, a familiar voice called from the sidewalk. "Gentlemen," said Officer Torres, my friend Carlos, flashing his badge. "Care to explain why you're attempting burglary?" The cousins paled. Rodney muttered something about being misinformed and backed toward the truck. Derek followed, murmuring apologies. Ethan's composure cracked, desperation bleeding through his arrogance. Vivian, you can't do this to me. I have nowhere else to go. I folded my arms, steady as stone. You did this to yourself, Ethan. Every choice you made led you here. You love me? He shouted, voice breaking. No, I said. I love the man I thought you were. That man doesn't exist. Carlos stepped closer. Ethan Harper, we've already got a report of attempted identity theft in your name. Care to add trespassing to the list? Ethan blanched. His eyes darted between us. Noah's glare, Camilla's camera, Carlos's badge. He realized the battle was lost. But he still tried one last pitiful card. Viv, please. I can change. Just one more chance. I almost pitied him. Almost. You had your chance the night you chose Lara. And the night you forged my name. And every moment you lied instead of telling the truth. The silence stretched until Carlos lifted his radio. Dispatch, I've got a suspect here. That broke him. Ethan bolted toward the U-Haul, but his cousins had already abandoned him, the truck disappearing down the street. Carlos caught Ethan's arm easily, and he didn't resist. As they led him away, his voice cracked over his shoulder. You'll regret this, Vivian. You'll regret losing me. I stood in the doorway and spoke clearly enough for the whole block to hear. No, Ethan. I'll regret ever letting you in. The U-Haul vanished, and with it, the last of his power over me. For the first time in months, my apartment was quiet. Truly quiet. And in that silence, something bloomed. Peace. The week after Ethan's arrest was strangely calm, like the stillness after a hurricane. My apartment, once heavy with his presence, felt light again. Sunlight streamed in warmer, cleaner. Silence no longer suffocated. It soothed. I spent the first few mornings relearning simple pleasures, brewing coffee without wondering if he'd drained the last of the beans, playing music at full volume without his complaints, stretching across the bed without colliding with his restless body. Freedom was quiet, and quiet was beautiful. Still, there were echoes, his mother leaving voicemails that swung between begging and blaming, old acquaintances trying to stir gossip. I let them all go unanswered. I owed them nothing. Then one evening, my phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. Hey, want to grab coffee this week? No pressure. I stared at the text for a long moment, my chest tightening, not with dread this time, but with something gentler. Hope. When we met, it wasn't dramatic. No fireworks, no cinematic soundtrack. Just two people across a table, sipping coffee, laughing at small things. For once, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. Marcus asked questions, listened, and never once glanced at his phone when I spoke. The simplicity of it was healing. We've taken it slow since then. Cautious, but steady. And maybe, just maybe, I'll let myself believe that real partnership exists. Not the kind built on smoke and manipulation, but on respect. One night I wandered through my apartment, a glass of wine in hand, pausing at the door where Ethan once pounded his fists, screaming for entry. The wood was smooth again, freshly painted. The ghosts were gone. I thought of my father's words. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Ethan showed me, and I believed him. Finally. So when I remembered his last text before the arrest, "You'll never find anyone like me," I smiled because he was right. I never will. And thank God for that.